Hi all. So we will talk about data types in Python because we want to learn Python for data analysis. So it's really important that we start slowly and gradually by understanding what all data types are there. If you have used Excel before, I believe everyone has used, you might be already knowing that in Excel too, you have different data types, numbers, currency, date, time, and so on. So in whatever software you are working with, you have different data types. In R also, we have different data types. Let's talk about the data types in Python. In this course, we would be focusing purely on Python, but sometimes we would compare few of the things with R, because if you are a user like me who has switched from R to Python, you might be having a habit of finding things, how these things were in R and how these things are in Python, and what's the difference. Usually people compare things when they learn one tool and then they switch to another tool. So I will give you a little bit of comparison here and there, but purely we would be focusing on Python. And if you have never done R before, if you are choosing Python as your first programming language, there is super cool. You can just ignore or skip the discussion where I'm talking about R. That's okay. So for the purpose of Python coding, I'm going to use Google Colab. That's my favorite. I don't need to launch Anaconda and do all those sort of stuff. So let's quickly talk about data types in Python. I'm going to use Colab for the purpose of coding, and I don't want these recent notebooks, and I can just go, let me create an empty notebook. I've shared these tips that if you want, you can create an empty notebook by writing here. Yeah. It is a scratchpad, kind of a rough notebook. If I want, I can always copy it to my drive or save it to my drive or GitHub by clicking here, or I can even open a new notebook, but I'm kind of using it as a rough notebook because I don't want to save it after the tutorial, right? So let me just tell you what are different data types in Python. So in Python, the data types means how you store data. Basic data types are when you say numbers. So in Python, numbers can be int, which represent integers, any whole number, for example, 23 or 48, or maybe negative 48, or maybe 0. So all these are examples of integer. This is one data type. And float. So if you have decimal point in between, 48.6 or 23.7 or negative 24.2, whatever. So these are decimal point numbers. You can obviously have more digits after the decimal, but there should be just one dot here which represent the decimal point number. So these are floats. And then we have complex. So those who are from math background or those who have done some coding in R, they might have heard about data types complex. If you are not from that background, you can simply skip this because you are probably never going to use this. So complex number, in mathematics we call 3 plus 2 iota kind of things. So in Python, to represent that iota, we use the symbol J. So we can have a number like 4 plus 3j. So here this 4 is the real part and 3 is the imaginary part, and j represent that iota of mathematics, which is basically minus of 1. So these are the number data types. And then you have string data type. On numbers, we can do mathematical operations. We can add them, subtract, division, any kind of calculation and feature engineering we can do if the data type is number. But if the data type is not numeric, it means it's a text. It can be a combination of text plus numbers, plus you can have special characters, you can have dash, dot, hyphen, all those sort of things on which you cannot do mathematical operation. The only condition is how will Python understand it is a text and it is a number. To make Python understand it is a string, you need to put it inside quotation marks. So you can either use single quotes or you can use double quotes. Both are fine to Python, but you need to put it inside quotation marks, then only Python will understand. And the third data type is Boolean. So you might have guessed, Boolean means true or false. So are you married? True or false? For example, I love blue color, true or false. Anything in which you can answer in yes or no, 0 or 1, that can be stored as a Boolean because these are memory efficient. So let's first see some example of numbers. I have commented using the hash, or you can use control plus forward slash from your keyboard. Now I'm just doing 23 and printing, it's an integer. So Python is just going to print this because that is what I have asked Python. And if I'm using decimal point, Python is going to print it as it is. And let me show you, if I just add two integers, I'm going to get some of those integers again as an integer. But if I add one integer and one decimal point number 23.5, Python is going to add, and as expected the result is going to be a float. It is a floating point number. And how we can check type, whether it is a floating point number or it is an integer? You can use simply type, and inside that you can put whatever you are doing. As of now we have not assigned it to any variable, so let me just show you here itself. So it shows that type of this quantity inside the parenthesis is float, because we are not assigning it to any variable as of now. We are just checking whatever we are typing, what is the type of that, data type of that, right? And obviously you can check, or you can do something with that complex number if you want to just explore that. But if that scares you, you can safely skip that because you are not going to use that. Now let me show you some examples of a string. How you define strings. We as a human beings understand that this is a text, this is a number, but computers are dumb. We need to tell them explicitly that it is a string, and to tell them we can use quotation marks. So for example, I am just writing I am Nisha and I'm printing it, it is going to throw an error because it doesn't understand what do you mean by I am Nisha, right? Because we have not used quotation marks here. So let me put it inside single quotes. Now it understand, okay, it's an string, let me print that. And similarly, I can put it inside double quotes and it is going to give the same result. Now, don't worry about the output here. It is showing it in the form of single quotes. It is basically the same string, right? And you have a nice fancy feature here. You can copy this value. Sometimes we want to copy the output to our clipboard so that we can use it somewhere. It's a very handy, nice feature in Colab. You see this copy icon. So you can copy the output to clipboard to use somewhere. It's not useful as of now. We will be seeing whenever we are doing some analysis and we want to copy the output, we can quickly copy from this. That's why I love Colab. Now let me show you that if my text have apostrophe like this, and if I put it in single quotes, Python gets confused because Python thinks this is the first quotation marks, this is the second quotation marks. In between these we have I. So Python understand this is the string. What about these things? Python simply can't understand what you want to say. So you are again going to get the syntax error, and it says it's an invalid syntax. So how you can handle that? Yes, you guessed it right. When you have apostrophe, you can use double quotes because then it would be easy for Python to differentiate between where your string starts and where it ends and what is there in between as the apostrophe or any special character. So let me print that. Woo, the problem is solved. Now what happens if your string contains double quotes? For example, I love Python. This is my string, and if I use double quotes, now again Python is going to get confused. It is going to say what you are doing with me, please tell me clearly what is your string. So what we need to do is we need to use, yes, you guessed it right, we can use single quotes here, and it's quite obvious. So we want to avoid these kind of trouble, so we can choose single quotes or double quotes. And what happens when we have both single quote and double quotes? For example, this is my text. It's a sample text. And I have here the apostrophe, I have here the double quotes. Now how to tell Python that this is the string, right? So we have something for our savior. We can, oops, it is going to give me an error. Yeah. So what we can use here is we can use escape character. Escape characters, by the name it's very clear. Escape character means they help you to escape the characteristics of that particular thing, right? We will see more about escape character later in this course. So let me just show you. Here we are going to use the escape character \n. Be careful, you are using \, otherwise it's not going to use, right? So we can put this string now inside single quotation or inside double quotation, but what character is creating the trouble? We can escape that character using this escape sequence. How we can do that? Let me show you. So for example, I like single quotation marks and I want to use that. So we see that this apostrophe is creating a problem, right? So we want to escape the character of this. Let's put an escape before this and just print this. Python is happy now. It's going to print the string. It is going to identify. Obviously, it will print the escape character too, but no worries. Python understands the string now. And now put it in double quotes. And when I put it, yeah, this is my original text. Now I need to put the escape character before wherever we have the double quotes so that Python don't get confused. Python assumes that, okay, I don't need to read this. I need to read this double quote and this double quotes as the start and end point of the string. Now Python is happy. Python can print the string, right? This was a brief introduction to string. We will see string operations later on, and we will see more on escape characters. The commonly used escape character is \n, and we will see in the print statement thing. Now let's talk about Booleans. So as you might have guessed, Booleans are true and false. And when I start writing, my ID is suggesting me, are you talking about Boolean true? And yes, I'm talking about the same thing. So it's I always prefer to invest some time in choosing the ID, which helps me to type the code and which saves my time on the silly typographical errors. That's why I love Colab. And yes, for R Studio is best. Even you can do Python coding there in R. I just love that. So here is Boolean. So we just have discussed data types in Python, and if you are coming from Excel, you might be thinking, what about date, time, and few other things which are there in Excel? We will see how we can handle those things in Python later in the course. And if you are coming from R background, you might want to compare how Python data types maps with the R data types. That's what generally happens when people switch from one language to another language. They always look for the comparison. I also started my journey with R and I really love R. When I switched to Python, I was also looking for these kind of comparison. Let me quickly tell you the data types in R and data types in Python and how they match. So here are data types in Python, which we have talked about just now, and here are data types in R, in case you are already familiar with. And if you are not familiar with R, and if at this time point you don't want to talk about R, you can simply skip this portion of the video. So if you are coming from R background, you might be knowing that in R we have numeric data type, integer data type, character data type. Yeah, complex is there. Complex data type and logical data type. These are common data types. And how these maps to Python, let me show you. So R's numeric is basically a floating point number. So it maps to Python's float, right? And R's integer is definitely a whole number. So it maps to Python int. R's character is nothing but Python's string. And R's complex, obviously complex here in Python, and the Boolean in Python, and we call it logical in R. So both are same. So just the names are different, but these are equivalent. If you are having float data type in Python, it is really equivalent to R's numeric data type. The only difference is in R, if you write x equal to 5, the default data type is numeric, which is a floating point number. R consider it as 5.0. And if you want it to be a whole number, you need to explicitly write 5L, which is not the case in Python. In Python, the default data type remains integer if you are writing x equal to 5. And if you are not sure about these things, you can always check. So let me just check type of 5. Yeah, it is integer in Python. But in R, when you check, its data type becomes numeric, which is default floating point. So you got an idea about data types in Python. We will talk about variable and operators in Python in the coming video. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.